Hey everybody, Dirili here. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Hakuoki Kyoto Wins. We are seeking Ryouma Sakamoto, and we could end up going through a few more common route scenarios before we actually are on his route for good. But we got quite a bit of new material on him in just that first episode, so hopefully it'll still be the same for this as well. Let's find out. You can just sit back, relax, and let me read you a story. They didn't seem like bad people. Suddenly, I was brought back to reality.
Yukimura.
I heard my name behind me, and I quickly turned to hear a familiar voice. Saito! I'm so sorry I fell behind the line.
Don't worry about that man to whom you were speaking. Was that the man from...
Yes, he's the man from the Tarada Inn. His name is Sakamoto.
Were you able to get any information?
Only a bit. According to him, he's a Tosa Ronin, but he happens to be allied with the shogunate. He claims he was undergoing training in order to steer black ships in Kobe.
Part of the shogunate's navy, huh?
What's he look so mad for? Saito glanced sharply towards the direction in which Sakamoto disappeared. And then he pierced his gaze directly at me.
You claimed his name was Sakamoto earlier, but I thought you said his name was Saitani.
He told me his real name is Ryouma Sakamoto, and since he's a Ronin, he was saying it's hard for him to share his actual identity.
And it looked like he had a companion. Who was he?
His colleague was named Nakauka.
I see.
Saito fell silent, seemingly lost in thoughts that I no doubt couldn't understand, then responded.
Let's get back on our rounds. We're falling very behind.
Oh, sure. I'm so sorry. I felt awful to have delayed Saito's plans like that, but I found myself relieved that Sakamoto wasn't an enemy of the shogunate or the Shinsengumi. He did say he didn't know when he'd visit Kyoto next, but I hoped to get to see him again. I recalled Sakamoto's passionate gaze as he spoke. He told me all about those black ships, and it was fascinating to meet someone so enamored with the future. It's always nice to see people with a passion like that, and his warrior's record has been released. February 1865, Chapter 3. And we get to skip some. This time I am going to return to my room. Perhaps it would be best to just return to my room. I didn't want to get in trouble for wandering around, but most of all, I didn't want to find myself in anyone's way. Even though I was worried about Sanin, maybe it's best for me to stay out of the way. Just as the sun dipped below the horizon, the compound exploded with activity. My worry increased tenfold. Did something happen? I waited for a few moments for the activity to settle down, but it did no such thing. Something was wrong. I could feel it. Time to go see. I struggled against it for as long as I could, but eventually my curiosity got the better of me. There must be someone in the common room. I decided to ask someone what had happened.
To think that Sanin would have done this to himself. God damn it, what the hell were you guys doing? I told you countless times to watch out for Sanin. Was some part of that difficult to understand? Come on, man, who would have thought he'd drink that stuff? I mean, Sanin was in charge of watching that stuff anyway, so it's not like we would have known.
Yeah, they probably should have had somebody else watching the stuff, not Sanin.
If it were hidden in a small bottle, we would have no way of knowing it was on him. I mean, I suppose there's a chance that the treatment could heal his arm, but it didn't work, did it? Everybody who took it went crazy. Then Sanin would be...
I wonder what they meant by treatment. Occasionally, I'd heard the captains referring to something similar from time to time. So, did Sanin drink that thing?
I believe Colonel Sanin was working on improving it. He hoped to repair his arm before it had deteriorated too far. Perhaps he felt he was finished, or at least close enough. Whatever the case, when he realized his failure, he ignored Soji's counsel and attempted suicide.
Suicide? The words were past my lips before I'd even thought them. As one, all eyes in the room turned toward me.
Just what the hell are you doing here?
The longer his cold gaze kept me pinned, the tighter my throat became, until I could barely breathe, let alone speak. I felt a strange combination of anxiety, suspicion, and animosity that I had felt before on the night I arrived to the headquarters of the Shinsengumi. Now, as then, I knew the meaning of that gaze.
Toshi, I think it's time you told her what's going on. She's Koto's daughter after all. She has a right to know.
I felt my eyes go wide at the mention of my father's name. Why would my father's name come up here? Don't tell me he had something to do with this. Hijikata's gaze slid to Kondo, sporting an unpleasant grimace. After a moment, however, he gave a long, exasperated sigh and turned back to me.
I'm going to make this clear. The Shinsengumi doesn't need you. There's a chance you'll help us find Koto, but even without your help, we'll find him eventually. A minor setback, at worst. You do anything weird, we'll kill you.
Yeah, I've known that from the start. You've been clear this entire time.
I'm about to tell you what's going on here, but keep in mind that your life is in our hands.
The intensity of Hijikata's statement felt like a sharp dagger pointed at my throat. I'm the daughter. The Shinsengumi only let me stay with them in the slight chance I'd come in handy when the time arose to search for my father. Although it wasn't their primary duty, the Shinsengumi had the watch for all manhunts. There's nothing left to tie me here, apart from my memories of the last year. Are you going to kill me? My words were flushed with worry, and Hijikata thinned his eyes like he was speaking to a servant.
We aren't going to kill you yet, but don't think that means you're in the clear.
Oh. I was glad, I suppose, that I wasn't going to be killed, but I was still far from happy. I'd been with the Shinsengumi for nearly a year, and my position with them hadn't changed. The truth cut deep.
We never told you, but Koto was here because he was developing a treatment.
You mean... I gulped audibly, and I carefully formulated what I was going to say in my head before I said it aloud. The one that Sanin took? When Kondo nodded, it was as if there was a great weight resting on him.
It was first brought to us by one of the shogun's men. We were told this concoction was obtained from a trade with Western merchants.
Curiosity swelled inside of me, and my head felt light from the anticipation. Still, I knew that digging deep is dangerous. These thoughts swirled. It was a foreign drug, billed with the ability to augment a man's healing and physical strength. Any who drink it would supposedly be strong enough to conquer a wild beast. Barring a truly fatal wound, any injuries from a battle would heal almost immediately. Unless one were to be decapitated or be pierced in the heart, you can engage in combat forever. Does such a concoction really exist? I felt like I was hearing some sort of fairy tale. Of course, all of this comes with a price. A price? The drink spurs men into madness, and they are unable to survive without drinking the blood of others. And there's more that they don't know about yet. Kodo took it upon himself to experiment on the Shinsengumi in an attempt to improve the drug. My father? Somewhere deep in my heart, I knew my father had some connection with all of this. Knowing my father was involved with driving men mad, all I could do was wonder why. To perform experiments on the Shinsengumi. So, that night in the alley... Saito nodded plainly. We keep the guys who have taken it in the Nanbu house. If we kept them at the Yagi house, suspicions would have been aroused. So long as they don't get any blood, they stay pretty calm. Saito spoke quietly and indifferently. It was as if what he talked about was a distant memory. Living with them for so long made me forget. There's still a line between myself and the Shinsengumi men that couldn't be crossed, and his coldness reminded me of this notion.
You alright, Chizuru? You don't look too well.
I'm alright.
Don't push yourself. I mean, of course you'd be sick after hearing this. Alright, we told her enough. We need to think about Sanin. Well, yeah, but, look at him. He's practically dead. Well, this batch is new, so the effects could be different. It's not a sure thing yet that he'll go mad. If that crap actually does what it's supposed to, then that cut isn't going to kill him.
Hijikata felt like he was restrained in saying this, as if he was trying to keep his hopes low.
Kondo, can you keep an eye on him?
Why Kondo?
Tonight's going to tell if he lives or dies, or goes crazy. Very well. Soji is with him, right?
Kondo nodded deeply, then stood and walked toward the room.
Don't let anyone near Sanin's room, especially Ito's men. Yeah, I know. Shinpachi, go check on the Maikawa house. Got it.
As he passed, Nagakura's eyes met mine for an instant, and his gaze. In them, I saw the same hostility I felt on the night I first arrived, and they were filled with doubt and suspicion toward me. Why? I only found out what was going on. I haven't changed. I'm the same person.
Saito, I want you in the inner courtyard. If Ito and his guys show up, keep them occupied. Understood.
Eventually, Hijikata faced his gaze to me.
Yukimura, I want you to stay with one of the captains.
You don't want me to go back to my room? Okay. It seemed as though his suggestion wasn't out of worry for my well-being, but rather that it wasn't a wise idea for me to be wandering around.
Stay out of the Nambu house. They get kind of rowdy at night.
Alright. I bowed slightly, but even with their warnings, I would be limited. Where should I go? I should completely disregard what he said and not stay with any of the captains and go back to my room. He told me to stay with the captain, but no, the choice I have to make is go back to my room. So that's what I'm doing. I felt like I didn't belong anywhere, so I decided to return to my room. However, there was no way I could sleep tonight, given the circumstances. I was alone in my room, and the images kept returning no matter how hard I tried to forget. Before I knew it, dawn was almost breaking. I wondered if any of the others were awake. Probably most of them. I slowly sauntered to the common room, and I saw a light flickering, sensing someone was inside. There, I saw Nagakura standing alone in the room. You're still up, Nagakura?
Oh, it's you, Chizuru. I'm still in the middle of my watch. I take it you couldn't sleep?
Yeah. It felt wrong that I intruded upon Nagakura, and he kneeled, brooding intently over something, and it felt wrong to strike a conversation with him. As I stood watching him, Nagakura eventually opened up to me.
Back in the day, there was a captain who drank the stuff on his own accord. And I guess it failed for him too, so in the end he died from drinking it. Sanin knew about it.
After muttering those words, Nagakura fell silent. It was clear today hurt everyone deeply. Oh no, I did something wrong. Okay, sorry about that. I had to go back to this choice because I had made the wrong choice before. I have to go outside at this point. Yeah, I was a little confused because the choice before was return to my room. Alright, sorry about that. So yeah, a little bit of rewind, and this is the correct choice this time. I took a deep breath, and my lungs filled with crisp, cold air. It brought me a sense of calm, cooling me down. I stood in disbelief of everything that happened tonight.
Oh, hey, you're looking way better than earlier.
You think so?
Oh, don't force yourself to smile for me. Tonight was hard. It shook you up pretty bad, huh? And that was some heavy stuff tonight.
Oh, it's not like that. It was hard for me to be up front with him, so I attempted to look stoic as best I could.
You know, you don't have to act so tough. There's nothing wrong with admitting something is scary if you feel vulnerable. Well, I guess with the others. Maybe you wouldn't want to admit it to them.
I'm safe with you, but maybe not so much the others. After saying his piece, Harada lightly patted my head. Oh, Harada. It may have been a small gesture, but I couldn't deny it brightened my mood a little. Despite the circumstances, I appreciated Harada treating me as if everything was going to be okay. What's going to happen to Sanin?
Who can say? I mean, he wasn't taking his injury well.
I know. I had nothing really to chime in with, so I nodded. I wasn't sure how much my opinion would matter, considering that I was an outsider to them.
Even back in our Edo days, he was patient in his care with me. I really wanted to pull through. I mean, even you could die at any time.
He sighed deeply and looked up at the sky.
Even when Sanin wakes up, however, there's no guarantee that he'll be his usual self.
I watched his expression and thought to myself, what does Harada think of the serum? Has he accepted it as a necessary risk for the Shinsengumi? Does he tell himself that it's for the good of his men and that it can't be helped? Harada? I'd be lying if I said I didn't want to know what he was thinking, but I shut my mouth. Nothing, never mind.
What were you going to say? You don't have to keep everything to yourself, you know.
No, don't worry about it. It's really nothing.
You sure? Then that's fine. I hope Sanan would hurry up and wake. And I hope he's the Sanan we all know. I guess that could be asking for too much, huh?
Oh, this seems so mean, but I have to say, yes, it might be asking for too much. Maybe you're right. Maybe it is asking for too much.
I know, huh?
Our conversation met a halt. The thought of my father conducting experiments with the medicine, and knowing that, with it, he was performing cruel acts on men. It gave me so many things to worry about, but right now all I could wish was for Sanan to pull through. Then, an unexpected visitor arrived.
What brings the two of you here at such a late hour tonight?
What brings you here at this hour?
Same could be said to you.
Precisely.
I might ask, where are you off to at this hour? If you break curfew, then you'll be punished. I was only training at the Mibu Temple. The chief gave me approval. Huh, I see. Would you mind getting a move on then? We're dealing with a situation.
Should have kept quiet.
A situation? What happened? I wasn't given much detail either. I bet you one of those nationalists infiltrated the compounds. I'd suggest you hurry back to your room. It doesn't seem like Kondo and the others hold you in high regards. Don't get in trouble now. Huh, that's none of your business.
Takeda darted an icy gaze toward Harada, and he scurried beyond the gates. Man, what is the deal with Takeda? Whose story do we have to read to get to know stuff about him? Was what you said okay to say?
Well, for now I think it was okay. For now, we'll have to hope Hijikata finds some way out of this mess for us tomorrow.
That's gonna be a tough one. And so, the long night broke. The captains of the Shinsengumi gathered in the common room.
Okay, everyone, don't worry. The hardest part for him is over.
The room collectively breathed a sigh of relief. Oh, sorry, we can skip now. And here's some new text in the middle of nowhere. Thinking back to the night of the incident, I remember Sanan transformed into a being with white hair, eyes lusting for blood. But looking at his peaceful smile now made it hard to imagine such a night was real. If someone told me it was all a bad dream, I would have believed it. It wasn't a dream, though, and now Sanan spends his days hiding from the sunlight and from others. I've definitely tapped into the Shinsengumi's secrets. For just a moment, the sun lit on Sanan's hair. Ah! I didn't know if it was a trick of the light or simply my mind being foolish, but in that moment his hair was a brilliant white. Is something the matter? You look as though you've seen a ghost, which I hardly feel is polite. Why isn't it letting me skip this? We read this before. Oh, no, nothing at all. He looked perfectly normal now, of course. Surely, I thought, I must have simply imagined it. Sanan had become the same creature as the men I encountered in my first night in Kyoto. And here, right in front of me, he stood. The fear of the night cast a shadow over my heart. In order to get all his endings at this point, you need to make a save, and then continue on. So after you make the save, go to Stay Behind. I knew that if I joined the fighting without being a skilled swordsman, I'd get in someone's way. I appreciate your offer, but I think I'll stay behind this time.
I see. Then I'll leave the rest up to you.
With that, while everyone went to go protect Nijo Castle, I stayed behind at the compounds. A few days had passed. It was after the Shinsengumi had safely returned from guarding Nijo Castle. Excuse me. Hijikata had called for me, so I headed to the common room where the captains awaited me.
Hey there. Sorry for calling you here at this hour. Please sit down.
Oh, no problem. Seeing everyone gathered, however, made me wonder if our conversation was a serious one. I sat down nervously where Kondo beckoned me.
Let's get straight to the chase. This is about the Tosa warrior you said you knew, Ryouma Sakamoto.
I didn't say I knew him. I just met him. Briefly. Twice. Oh, Sakamoto? What about him?
This man is an alleged survivor of the Tosa Imperialist Party. He's supposedly involved with the Imperial Nationalist movements in various places.
What? But... I heard that he was at the shogunate's navy, learning to steer a black ship. Wouldn't that make him an ally of the shogunate?
Perhaps you could be right. I don't know now, but supposedly he was successful in infiltrating the navy. However, that navy training location no longer exists, so technically, Sakamoto has no backing by the shogunate and is just a ronin.
So, despite that, he's still roaming through Kyoto and Osaka. That smells fishy.
So, we're thinking of investigating Sakamoto, but...
Hijikata then gestured toward Yamazaki.
Sakamoto is a very cautious man. Shimada and I attempted to tail him a few times, but each time he was able to lose us. We are certain that he is using the Tarada Inn as his base at the moment, but he refuses to leave his room whenever we go there.
I listened to the captains nervously. The flow of this conversation led me to think, do they want me to seduce him for information? Am I going to be the honeypot?
Will you lure Sakamoto in the open for us?
What? I can't do that. They really do want to use me. I mean, even last time, I learned that I have no talent as a spy. Also, above everything, the few times I spoke to Sakamoto never led me to believe he's an enemy.
It's not what you think. We just want to bring him in for questioning. No one intends on doing him any harm.
What? You want me to draw him out of the building so you can arrest him and bring him here?
Supposedly, the Tosa domain is trying to arrest and execute the loyalist, so we thought it'd be best for us to come to his aid.
Well, if you put it that way, and you better be serious about this.
I mean, if he's able to train under the shogunate despite being a Tosa, he should be in the clear.
Oh, well, when you put it like that... So, from what it sounded like, they wanted to become allies with Sakamoto, and in return receive information regarding the Tosa from him. I understand. In that case, I'll try sending a letter to the inn where Sakamoto is staying. However, since I've only met Sakamoto a few times, I can't guarantee that he'd accept my letter.
That's fine. Can you get to it immediately?
Okay, please excuse me then. I bowed and left the common room. Upon returning to my room, I immediately started to write a letter to Sakamoto, but what could I tell him that didn't sound suspicious? All I could write convincingly was, I would like to speak with you about something immediately. I didn't know if Sakamoto would read it anyway, though. The next day, I asked Yamazaki to deliver the letter for me. Is that all I wrote? That is very mysterious. It would make him curious. After a few days... Ow! I was in the room stitching, and I accidentally stabbed myself with a needle. It didn't cut too deeply, and it was fine to let it settle since it had stopped bleeding eventually. Well, since I'm a demon that heals fast, it should stop, almost immediately. I placed my stitching on the floor and sighed deeply. I'd received no response from Sakamoto yet. Maybe he's busy. I did send that letter out of the blue. Maybe he's not sure what to do or what it's about. Even though it was to help the Shinsengumi, I started regretting having done something so rash. Then, a surprise visitor interrupted my thoughts.
Yukimura, do you have a moment?
For some reason, Inoue seemed to be a little panicked from behind the sliding door. Sure, what is it?
Come with me this instant. We have a situation.
A situation? What happened?
Supposedly, a man named Sakamoto charged into the compound demanding to see you.
Good lord, he's impetuous. What are you doing, Sakamoto? What? I rushed with Inoue to the common room.
How dare you all use a woman to extort information from me? Is that how the Shinsengumi run things?
That voice, it really is. Sakamoto! As I called to him, he turned around with the goofiest smile on his face.
Oh, hey, Chizuru. I got your letter and I couldn't contain myself, so I came running here.
It took him that long to get the letter? It's been a couple days.
I'd be a little happier if it wasn't for these men, but I guess it was asking for too much.
But why did you come here?
You heard, yeah? It was so obvious that they were using you to get information from me, so I figured why not just cut out the middleman.
My mouth was slack-jawed, knowing he took a bold step to charge in despite seeing through the Shinsengumi's intentions. Sakamoto then turned around again to face Hijikata and the other warriors.
Looks like I don't need to introduce myself at this point, but I'm a Tosa Ronin, Ryouma Sakamoto. However, there's no good reason for the Shinsengumi to be investigating me. Yes, I may be acquainted with the Tosa Loyalist Party, but that's all. I don't want to say it, but it's not like anything they do is much to hoot about. What makes you think we can take you for your word? Well, believe it or not, that's the truth. Or why don't you ask Count Katsu yourself then? Did you say Katsu?
Hijikata's brows furrowed as soon as he heard the name.
Wasn't Katsu an official in the shogunate? Then that means...
It was clear now that Sakamoto was connected to the shogunate, diffusing the tension between him and the Shinsengumi. Hijikata, however...
But you were familiar with the Tosa Ronin that night at Ikeda Inn, correct? How do you claim to have no relation with the loyalist extremists?
Sakamoto slumped to Hijikata's question.
I stopped them, but they gave me no chance to talk it out. They all decided to jump the gun, and they died. If you consider Japan at its current state, could they really expel foreigners? It's a no-brainer. What are you going on about? If we're talking about expelling foreigners, both the imperial court and the shogunate are in agreement. Whoa, it sounds like you were misinformed. I mean, who is the one that opened all of our ports to foreigners? That's right, the shogunate. Yeah, he spouts off loyalist sentiment to his people, but can he really deliver? Seems obvious. Well, that's just temporary. Since we have no naval force capable of stopping the black ships, for now he has to gain power. So, when you speak of power, whose power are you speaking of? Japan's? Or are you saying the Tokugawa clan? Both, obviously. The Tokugawa clan has the supreme authority to govern Japan.
Sakamoto sighed in response to Hijikata.
Despite offering no help and letting the Choshu domain succumb to the Western Fleet? Well, that's only because the Choshu attacked the black ship with cannons and had no strategy. True, but expelling the foreigners was a direct order from the shogunate, even if it was for show. And besides, more than anything, no matter how much they may fight it, the Choshu domain is still comprised of our fellow countrymen.
Hijikata's bitter expression gave the impression that Sakamoto bested him as the latter smirked.
Hijikata, was it? You clearly know what you're talking about. But my, aren't you quite stubborn?
I think you kind of share that quality. Hijikata's just a little more terse about it.
For the future, let's say we're to engage in conflict with the foreigners, you'd still need a naval fleet and even more money for war. Now is not the time for the squabbles and trivialities between the Japanese people. No one here is hot crap for killing a few dozen Ronin. Rather than that, we need to gather our resources and make Japan a stronger country. What did you say?
Hijikata's eyes grew wide, believing Sakamoto's suggestion to be a direct affront to the duties and methods of the Shinsengumi.
Now wait a moment, you two. Just hold on.
Kondo tried to assert his authority over Hijikata.
Kondo, were you not listening to what this bastard said? I did hear, but it's the Aizu's command that no harm shall come to this man. None of that matters. This bastard is involved with the Battle of the Ikeda Inn. And not only that, he just stood up for the Choshu. I bet you anything he's connected to them secretly. It's not only the Aizu, Yamauchi of the Tosa domain, and Katsu whose retainer guaranteed his safety.
Hijikata gripped his fist tightly. And then he punched against the wooden floor. Oh, I think this route with Ryouma is going to make me Hijikata's enemy.
Crap.
Yes, I can't say it, sorry. Gotta stay family friendly. Yeah, I have an excuse not to curse now. Ha! There was prolonged silence after Hijikata's outburst, and Sakamoto faced Kondo.
So, you're the head of the Shinsengumi? Yes, I am chief of the Shinsengumi, Isami Kondo. And you're Sakamoto, the Sakamoto Ronin?
Sakamoto's expression was something which I wasn't familiar. He stared coldly at Kondo before raising his voice.
You stuck your nose in where it didn't belong. Meaning?
Kondo seemed puzzled by Sakamoto's words, but the latter ignored his question. I don't understand.
Whatever. So if you're done doubting me, that means I can be on my way now, yeah?
What about me? Didn't you come here for me? Sakamoto began walking down the hallway.
Hold on a minute. Let me walk you out.
Kondo rushed to get up and then looked over at me. I nodded and I rushed to follow Sakamoto. I'm still the honeypot! Sakamoto! I called out to him while his back was facing me, and he slowly turned to face me.
Oh, that's right, huh? You said you wanted to talk to me, right? What is it?
Yours, how did you think you are and I want to date you? Huh? Oh,
Hey, Kondo, would it be okay for me to get some alone time with her?
Kondo contemplated his request for a second, with the captains watching behind him.
Fine, thanks for coming out today.
As he nodded, Kondo returned to the common room alongside the rest of the captains. Alright, and before I make this choice, I'm going to go ahead and stop the video here, and we'll make this choice in the next one. Yeah, so I think we can safely say the real value in this game is the 3 brand new characters, because that seems to be where the majority of the brand new material is going to come from. Because we're definitely getting a good amount with Ryouma here, whereas with Sanin we didn't get anything like until chapter 5, so yeah, we should be getting lots out of these 3. Sakamoto, Iba, and the one that I can't think of off the top of my head at the moment. I'm really liking Sakamoto though. I mean, he's really friendly with me, but he's not trusting, and he seems to be pretty smart and strong, I believe. And he's passionate about sailing. So hope you all will enjoy him as well as I do. I'd love to see you in that next video or some of my other ones, and I'd be so grateful for any likes, comments, subscriptions, or shares with your friends to show some support. Thank you so much for joining me, and I wish you all health, happiness, and safety. Dirili signing out. Bye bye everybody.